The fire and fury of a new front in this 27-month-long war. In Vovchansk in Ukraine's northeast, a house burns as its owner sits covered in soot and shock. Since Friday, Russia has launched an armoured ground attack in the Kharkiv region. Ukraine fended off an invasion here 2 years ago. Now, Moscow senses an opportunity.
The fighting is still taking place. The Russians were pushing us harder. Their tank arrived and the Russian assault began. Our boys got surrounded.
Ukraine says they are holding the line of defence, but they are desperately awaiting delayed military aid from Washington. Moscow claims to have captured 9 villages this weekend as they appear to close in on the city of Kharkiv. Residents watching and waiting, some now fleeing. Valentina is deaf and didn't hear when her house came under fire. She's now one of more than 2,500 who have been evacuated from the region. As the smoke billows, is Russia planning to capture Kharkiv? It's doubtful they have the capacity to do so, but Moscow may be using this moment to create a buffer zone, because over the border from Kharkiv is the Russian city of Belgorod, which has come under increased attacks. This apartment block was struck, leaving at least 7 dead and 15 injured. And as rescuers got to work, the damaged roof collapsed, covering several with rubble. Moscow has blamed Ukraine, calling it a barbaric attack. Kyiv is yet to comment. Another reason why Russia may be trying to advance in the north is to divert Ukrainian resources away from here, the battleground in the southeast. In Avdiivka, medics treat the injured from the 47th Brigade as Russian forces slowly advance.
It is very hard out there on the battlefield. We are coping, but it is difficult. We keep up the defence, and that's it.
As the sick wait under the dim lights, Ukraine is facing a difficult situation, down here in the south and further up north too, where busloads of evacuees ponder the future away from their homes and wonder what next for their nation as Russia opens a new ominous chapter, the pain and sudden shifts of this ever-grinding conflict.
Kiran Moody reporting. Well, Maria Avdiivka is a Ukrainian security analyst from Kharkiv. I spoke to her in the last hour and began by asking about the situation there.
Well, it's a difficult situation there. So Russian troops are trying to get closer to the city, and I think at the current stage, this is their #1 goal. This city, it's just on the border and it was already liberated. So people who live in Vovchansk, they already went through the occupation. They know how is it to be under occupation. And this is why they're rushing out, because they don't want to experience it for the second time if this happens.
What do you think is the wider strategy then? You've said that Russian troops are on the border somewhere else kind of gathering. Do you think that it's to create a so-called buffer zone or to eventually take Kharkiv? What do you think is the strategy here?
I think they have several goals in mind. One is in actually what you mentioned, to create this buffer zone or gray zone along the border. This will allow for Russian troops, if this happens, to come closer to the city and have Kharkiv in the artillery range. The other aim is to stretch the front line, because obviously to hold the new front that just has opened, Ukraine needs to redeploy more troops here from Donbass, and this means that they will be overstretched, and as you know, the Ukrainian army has not sufficient manpower, so this will be difficult. I don't believe that Russia will try to get the city itself, but even if they will succeed in getting closer to the city, this will create a dangerous situation for the Kharkiv, the second largest city in Ukraine.
You would have heard that Russia are blaming Ukraine for a strike on an apartment block in Belgorod. What do you make of that? They've said it's a terrorist attack on residential areas.
I've studied the reports and seen reports of the different analysts, and all of them come to the conclusion that the explosion, whichever caused it, happened in the other side of the building, in the side of the building that is like heading towards north, which is not into the Ukrainian side. So there is a possibility that Russia launched this gliding bomb, which they're constantly launched towards Kharkiv, towards Vovchansk, other areas, and this bomb just was misguided and hit into the building.
And just finally, we're 27 months in now. I just wonder how you are feeling and the people of Kharkiv are feeling with this renewed assault from Russia right now.
People generally are exhausted because of the war naturally, but this new offensive from Russia gives them, it could sound weird, but this gives them the feeling of like another strength, because they understand they need to be strong and resilient. So people understand that this is a moment when we have to be as united, as strong as possible to stop Russian advance, because Russia wants to crush everything and destroy if they succeed in moving further.
Maria Avdiivka, thank you very much for joining us. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.